country of Switzerland has long been an important bridge between Northern Europe and the Mediterranean. And for as long as anyone can remember, the impressive barrier of the Alps has provided challenges to the ingenuity of man in his quest to carve routes through this high mountain backbone. Trackways and roads allowed passage by foot, pack horse and later post coach, although harsh winter conditions could make travel difficult. With the arrival of the railways during the 19th century, major tunnels penetrating the mountain chain enabled passengers to cross the Alpine divide with relative ease. On the 19th of November 1999, Switzerland celebrated the opening of a major new rail tunnel. This was excavated to augment the lines of the Rhaetian Railway, the country's second largest private rail company, based in Graubünden in the southeast of the country. The Vereina tunnel links the route between Landquart and Davos with the Engadine line and is the first extension to the RhB's network to be opened in 85 years. The official opening day saw fresh snow lying on the ground, but that didn't interfere in any way with the planned events. This triumph of engineering, which opened 6 months early and 9 million Swiss francs under budget, called for special festivities. A section of track near the northern tunnel portal was to be officially jointed, and the world's press turned out to record the event.
Geschätzte Damen und Herren, wir schweißen jetzt das letzte Gleis der Vereina-Linie zusammen.
The chief engineer made the connection complete in front of several thousand specially invited guests, including Switzerland's transport minister, Moritz Leuenberger. Guests were able to warm up on the ride through the tunnel. The trains paused at the central passing place for a special film and laser show, the darkness of the cavern providing the perfect ambience for the projections. Further down the tracks, a local rock band serenaded the passengers. At Sass station at the southern tunnel portal, guests were treated to a sumptuous luncheon inside a banqueting hall amazingly converted from the approach ramp for the car transporter service. The people of the region were also included. On the 20th and 21st, a Tunnelfest was held and thousands of visitors came to see the new marvel. Car transporter wagons were fitted with bench seats, giving passengers an exciting ride through the tunnel. Such an historical event calls for matching celebrations. A world record musical extravaganza was staged. 222 Alphorn players from all over Switzerland assembled in national costume to delight visitors with a specially composed work. These wonderful instruments, some 4 meters in length, are made of pine wood. The sound they make can carry up to 8 kilometers and could be easily heard in the nearby villages of the lower Engadine. The Engadine Valley, one of the most beautiful in all Switzerland, is a popular holiday destination in both summer and winter. The waters of many streams flow through the chain of lakes near Samoritz to become the river Inn, which leaves Switzerland at the Austrian border. The village of Scuol on the northern bank of the river in the lower Engadine has Bronze Age origins, although the houses in the lovely old village date mainly from the 16th and 17th centuries. Typical Engadine building methods have been employed over the centuries, and the exteriors of the stone houses are decorated with sgraffito and painted crests. The Church of St. George, situated on a rock outcrop above the settlement, dates from 1516, the replacement for a 12th century building. Scuol station was opened by the Rhaetian railway on the 1st of July 1913. It's the most easterly railway terminus in all Switzerland. With the opening of the new services on the 22nd of November 1999, push-pull sets were introduced on the Vereina and Engadine lines to avoid locomotives having to run round at end stations. Services along the Engadine line also changed their westerly terminus from St. Moritz to Pontresina. We take one of the last of the pre-Vereina services, which were hauled by a mixture of GE44 first and second series locomotives, allowing us to sit back and enjoy our ride to the tunnel. Our way lies entirely uphill, as we must gain almost 150 meters in height before reaching Sass, utilizing gradients of up to 1 in 40. The terrain proved difficult for the builders of the line. The track passes over lofty viaducts and through numerous tunnels bored into the steep valley side. There have been plans to extend the tracks from Scuol into Austria since the opening of the line. Although as yet nothing has ever come of the various schemes, the idea has been recently reintroduced, and an international route could become a reality during the 21st century. At Ardetz, our train passes below a ruined tower, which was destroyed by the Austrians in 1499. This part of Switzerland lies close to the Austrian and Italian borders, and the Austrians especially played a dominant role in the region for many years. The Engadine is one of the regions of Switzerland in which Romansh is in everyday use and is taught in schools. This language is a direct descendant from Latin, and is one of the 4 official tongues of the country, the others being German, Italian and French. Of these, only French is not spoken in Canton Graubünden. The River Inn, which flows through the valley, is one of Europe's major waterways, rising in Switzerland and flowing through Austria and Germany to join the Danube. Since 1999, a new station has been added to the Engadine route. Sass is not just a stop on this line, but also the southern terminus of the link through the Vereina tunnel to Klosters and the Davos line. Work on the new route began in April 1991, although the project had been mooted for a considerable period before that date. The excavation of the 19.042 kilometre long Vereina tunnel, the longest metre-gauge rail bore in the world, progressed steadily. The highly skilled workforce was assisted by the latest technology, and two different boring methods were used. The traditional drill and blast excavated the southern face, while a tunnel boring machine worked from the north. The breakthrough took place on the 26th of March 1997 amid much festivity. Specially invited guests were transported to the southern face to witness the impressive boring machine breaking through right on time. The northern crew were at last united with their southern colleagues in an historic moment for the Rhaetian Railway. The celebrations continued for several hours inside the cavern, hundreds of meters below the surface. For the next 2.5 years, work continued on the tunnel and the two portal stations. Much construction was necessary to enable not only normal train running, but also an all-year-round car transporter shuttle to open on time. This facility for the motorist is extremely popular. The regular services through the tunnel drastically reducing car journey times between the lower Engadine and other parts of Switzerland. The car transporter wagons are powered by the new GE 443 locomotives, which have been gradually brought into service with the RhB during the 1990s. Many of these bring a splash of colour to the network, sporting distinctive liveries and providing a popular method of advertising for local companies. They're capable of hauling loaded car transporters through the tunnel at speeds of up to 100 kilometers per hour. At present, cars approaching the northern tunnel station must pass through Klosters village. However, a bypass is under construction, and the stunning new Sunneberg road bridge will eventually take cars across the Landquart valley into a 4.5 kilometre long tunnel under the Gochna mountain, emerging at Selfranga. We resume our journey along the Vereina line at Sass station, which has become not only a terminal for the car transporter services, but also an interchange for passengers to and from the upper Engadine. We pass the car transporter wagons to enter the southern portal of the tunnel. Just inside, a junction brings a spur of the upper Engadine line in a curve to join our northward bound tracks. The line is single track, except for the 2-kilometre midpoint passing place and the tunnel mouths. The ballast between the tracks was produced from the tunnel spoil. Safety issues are paramount, and special rescue trains are kept permanently at either tunnel portal. Although the latest safety installations and control technology are in place, the tunnels are patrolled every night by 2 tunnel marmots, experienced employees whose keen eyes ensure nothing is amiss. Passenger trains do not stop at Selfranga, and after a few seconds daylight, our train once more plunges into darkness, this time passing through the 2.17 metre long Zugwald tunnel. Our train emerges at Klosters station throat inside a double-track river bridge opened in April 1993, especially to accommodate the new Vereina line. Klosters station is now an important junction and has been modernised to ensure smooth running of all the many services passing through. It's also the location for the signalling system governing the Vereina tunnel. Klosters village is a charming settlement set in lush countryside. It originated as a monastic community and still retains a tranquil air, with its wooden houses and old church. It's a popular destination in summer, but especially winter, when it even plays host to royal visitors. The first hotels were built here in the 1870s, a few years after its equally famous neighbour Davos began to attract an international clientele. The town of Davos, the highest in Europe at 1,560 metres above sea level, enjoys a sunny and stimulating climate. The highly beneficial air and idyllic setting of the valley led to the setting up of sanatoria, catering for patients with tuberculosis and breathing problems. As early as the summer of 1860, visitors stayed at the Hotel Strehler while attending the clinic of the pioneering Dr. Alexander Spengler. Within 5 years, the first winter visitors had arrived, and Davos established its distinguished reputation as an all-year-round resort. The former post office now houses a fascinating winter sports museum. This extensive collection, donated by the Jörg Kaufmann family, is a veritable treasure of bygone days. There are a range of skis from all periods of the sport's history, as well as many early examples of sledges, some dating back to the 19th century when the Toboggan Club of Davos was founded. Mannequins display garments favoured by the winter sportsmen and women of the early 20th century. For today's ice skaters, there's a wonderful sports facility available in the centre of the town. During winter months, the football and athletic pitches are transformed into Europe's largest natural ice rink. A far cry from the days when enthusiasts had to wait for the lake to freeze over. Over the decades, the facilities have been improved and enlarged to cater for the increased demand. Speed skaters have a specially prepared track on which to practice their skills, and international teams regularly hold training camps in Davos. Even in summer, it's possible to enjoy the ice outdoors, as a specially prepared rink is protected from the sun's rays by a high-tech covering. Ice hockey is a national religion in Switzerland, and the enormous roof of the building next to the outdoor rink shelters a modern facility which allows teams of all ages and abilities the chance to join in the magic of the game. The evening's battle is fast and furious, and the home team is rightly proud to have such a good venue in which to entertain the opposition. Meanwhile, the nighttime streets have been transformed into a winter wonderland, the perfect place to stroll and admire the festively decorated shops and hotels. The thickly falling snow builds into fantastic shapes on the street lamps, which illuminate visitors, recapturing the ambience of earlier times with a sleigh ride through the streets. We leave Davos to begin our 50-kilometer journey to Landquart. The coming of the railway to Davos was the brainwave of Willem Jan Hertzboer, who founded the Landquart-Davos Railway Company in order to give sick patients a comfortable and speedy ride to the town's medical facilities. The line from Landquart to Klosters opened in 1889, with services to Davos in operation by the following summer. The entire RhB network uses meter gauge tracks with mainly single line running. Crossing is only possible in stations and passing loops, so the timetable must be strictly adhered to. To the right of our train lies the road to the lower Engadine across the Fluela Pass, which is open for motor traffic in summer. However, this wild route, which rises to about 2,400 meters above sea level, can now be closed each winter, as the car transporter service through the Vereina tunnel allows drivers easy access whatever the weather. The stagecoach journey from Landquart to Davos took 7 hours. Now, the train conveys passengers along the same distance in just over an hour. The summit of the line is at Davos Wolfgang at a height of 1,625 meters. From this point onwards, our journey will be all downhill. An average gradient of 1 in 22 will mean our driver will have to make good use of the train's braking system. While in winter the landscape appears an unbroken snowfield, in summer a black lake lies below the tracks between the line and the hamlet of Davos-Larette. We've now left the boundaries of the municipality of Davos, a region which is larger than the Swiss canton of Zug, and entered the jurisdiction of Klosters. The track must lose over 300 meters in height before arriving at Klosters. And after Kavdurli halt, the line runs through a horseshoe tunnel which takes it back up the valley at a lower level. At the entrance to Klosters station, we pass through the new covered bridge which takes the tracks over the river Landquart. In order to avoid disruption to the daily train services, this double-track structure weighing some 6,200 tons was erected 10 meters upriver and then pushed into its present site. Our train draws up alongside the Gochna cable car station, which is crowded in winter with sportsmen and women traveling to the huge Parsen-Gochna ski area, which stretches from Klosters to Davos along the mountain ridge. There are over 120 kilometers of runs on offer, suitable for skiers and snowboarders of all ages and abilities. An inclusive ski pass allows unlimited access to all the slopes of the area. It's possible to experience a wide variety of pistes in a single day, while enjoying superb views across the region. The world's first ski lift opened here in 1934, but the current facilities owe more to 21st century technology, keeping the thousands of keen powderhounds on the move. The writer Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, the creator of the world-famous detective Sherlock Holmes, was an early winter sports enthusiast who enjoyed spending vacations in the Davos area. It's also possible to ski as far as Küblis, but we make a more leisurely summer journey with the train from Klosters to Landquart. Klosters was founded in the early 13th century, when a monastery was established from the cloister at Gourwalden, near Gour. This was dissolved in 1525 during the Reformation, but many of the monks continued to live in the settlement, farming the former monastic lands. We are now travelling along the original Landquart Davos Company's line, which opened on the 9th of October 1889. For the first 32 years, services were steam-hauled, the line being electrified in 1921, almost the last stretch of the Rhaetian Railways network to undergo modernisation. There's a glimpse of the new road bridge from the windows of our carriage, but the railway is not lagging behind and has modernised many of its viaducts in recent years. Our way lies along the Landquart River Valley, known as the Prättigau, a name derived from the Latin pratum, or meadow. This rural region was settled by immigrants who in medieval times moved from Canton Valais in southwestern Switzerland, bringing with them their own customs and style of living. The architecture of the Prättigau is very different from that of the Engadine, with wood rather than stone being the favoured building material. The 87-metre-long tunnel below the village of Sass is the shortest tunnel on the line, and the driver is again in daylight before the end of the train has entered the bore. Kublis is one of the largest villages in the Prättigau and was a horse change station for the post coaches which ran daily to Davos before the coming of the railway. A massive pipeline brings water down the hillside, passing over the railway and under the road before entering the large hydroelectric generating station situated on the valley floor. This came into service in 1921 when electrification meant the demise of regular steam running on the RhB. The Landquart Davos company purchased 5 G34 locos from SLM in 1889. Number 1, Rhaetian, is still occasionally seen on her original tracks, despite having retired from daily service for over 3/4 of a century. 2 other steam machines are retained in working order by the RhB. G45 numbers 107 and 108 now haul special excursion trains along the Engadine, Prättigau and Rhine valleys. The first electric locos came into service with the Rhaetian railways in 1913 on the Engadine line. A couple of these early machines are still preserved in full working order. The most distinctive machines of the RhB's vintage electric fleet are the GE661 Baby Crocodile locos, which, from the 1920s, formed the workhorses of the main lines. Sadly, these are now a rare sight on the network. Their duties were gradually taken over in the 1940s when the first series of GE44 locomotives were introduced. These were augmented in the 1970s and 80s by the second series of engines, many of which now provide the motive power for Davos line services. We continue our journey towards Landquart, running along the valley floor alongside the river and road. We cross the river Landquart, which has carved its way through narrow gorges at several points in the valley. The river rises in the mountains above the Vereina tunnel and flows through the Prättigau to join the river Rhine, the waters of which will then pass through Switzerland, Germany and the Netherlands to the North Sea. The GE442 locomotives were built by SLM with electrical equipment by BBC. Their top speed capability of 90 km per hour is used along only the level section of this line near the village of Shears. The machines are numbered 611 to 633, and they also bear the name of a town or village on the RhB network. The valley here is dominated by the Homoplax wood processing factory, a major employer in the region since its opening in 1947. The railway plays an important part in transporting not only the raw material to the complex, but also the finished product away to a variety of destinations. On the valley side above the line lies the village of Fideris, an ancient settlement which retains its rural charm. Many of the solidly built houses are decorated with the coats of arms of their inhabitants. They're in a wonderful state of preservation, and the village is rightly proud of its community spirit and long history. The oldest house in the village has foundations dating back to 1036, long before the formation of Switzerland as a country. We speed through the majority of the stations on the line between Küblis and Landquart, for these are served by regular local shuttle services, which connect villages in the Prättigau with those on the lower Albula line. A long passing loop has been constructed at Fuchsenwinkel in order to accommodate the increased loadings on the route now the Vereina tunnel has opened. Our train enters an 821-metre-long gallery and tunnel opened in 1978. Formerly, the rails ran alongside the river and the old track bed is still discernible. The Rhaetian Railway has often been called the Graubünden State Railway, as all its tracks, with the exception of a small section of the Bellinzona-Mesocco line, lie within the canton. Canton Graubünden is the largest of Switzerland's 26 divisions, covering, as it does, 1/6 of the entire land area. However, the region is only lightly inhabited, having less than half the population of the city of Zurich. It has 3 international borders, with the tiny Principality of Liechtenstein and the major European countries of Austria and Italy. Austria exerted domination over much of this region in times past, a fact bitterly resented by the indigenous population. In the 15th century, communities in the Prättigau, Scharnfig, Kurwalden and Davos banded together to form the Zehn-Gerichte-Bund, or 10 Courts League. In 1471, this joined with the Gotteshausbund of the Engadine and the Grauerbund of the Rhine Valley to form the Dreibünden, which subsequently entered into an alliance with the regions which then comprised Switzerland. The canton finally became part of the Swiss Confederation in 1803. After Grusch, the valley narrows and river, road and rail must pass through the Malans gorge. Originally, the railway ran through the defile alongside the river and road. Then, in 1963, the road was widened and the railway was diverted through a tunnel over 1,000 meters long. Finally, in the 1990s, further road improvements included the excavation of a second tunnel to allow cars and lorries a speedy journey through this narrow passageway. A cave fortress dating from the 12th century is perched on the rock face above the tunnel, but we pass through on our journey without danger of attack. We've now left the Prättigau and entered the broad Rhine valley, the hillsides of which are covered in vines, for this is one of Switzerland's many wine-growing regions. The picturesque village of Malans, which is one of a chain of wine-producing settlements stretching along this part of the Rhine, has been inhabited since early times. The church, in its present form, was built in 1469, while the lovely old castle nestling in a fine Baroque garden mainly dates from the 16th century. The houses here form a pleasing combination of old and new architecture, and a delightful stroll can be made around the peaceful streets before enjoying some welcome refreshment. Viticulture is ever present, with grapes growing right in the heart of the village. Vines were probably introduced by the Romans during their occupation of this region. The vineyards in Malans are largely family-owned, with the emphasis on quality products. Much of the vintage is consumed within Switzerland and can be sampled at local hotels and restaurants. Bottles can be bought directly from the makers, including organic wine. The wine in these villages was traditionally made in rooms known as torkels. Some of these still survive, although the traditional wooden presses now add atmosphere to a special location for parties and celebrations, while today's harvest is processed elsewhere using the latest technology. We continue our journey, leaving Malans to pass swiftly along the flat plain towards our destination at Landquart. On the outskirts of Landquart, the catenary belonging to the double-track standard gauge lines of the main Swiss federal railways is visible alongside our route. The Rhaetian Railway electrified its line in 1921, some 7 years before the first SBB electric loco arrived here. Both lines cross the River Landquart on iron girder bridges, although a new concrete construction has been built to assist the RhB in coping with the additional traffic caused by the opening of the Vereina line. The station has also gained additional tracks and sidings. There are 2 stations at Landquart, one owned by the SBB and the other by the Rhaetian Railway. The first train arrived here as early as 1858 with the opening of the Vereinigte Schweizerbahnen line from Rosach to Chur. These tracks were absorbed by the Swiss Federal Railways in 1902. The station at which we're arriving was opened by the Landquart Davos company in 1889 and taken over by the RhB in 1895. The town of Landquart is dominated by the Rhaetian Railway's works, situated next to the station. This was the original depot for the Landquart Davos company, and the roundhouse is still the home shed for the original LD steam loco number 1 Rhaetian, as well as some of the RhB's early electric machines which are retained to haul special excursions. Also housed here are various modern locos awaiting their turn of duty. Both locos and coaches are maintained and renovated in the workshops, and all types of repairs can be undertaken by the skilled workforce. The RhB is an important employer in the area, and there are around 330 men and women on the depot's payroll. The company ensures that the necessary skills are not forgotten by taking on apprentices to learn from the experienced hands. The very latest GE443 electric locos arrive here for acceptance trials, testing and numbering. Stock maintained at Landquart now includes the driving trailers and wagons for the Vereina services. From Landquart, it's possible to journey onwards, perhaps changing to a mainline train to explore other regions of Switzerland. There are regular services to the important terminus at Zurich, as well as a wide variety of other national and international destinations. But with so much more to explore in Canton Graubünden, why not stay with the Rhaetian Railways to continue along their other lines? Trains leave Landquart at frequent intervals to take passengers along the Rhine Valley to the important station at Chur. From here, there's the option of making a diversion along the scenic Arosa line, through the wooded Scharnweg Valley and over the magnificent Langwies Viaduct. The high mountain resort of Arosa is another favorite holiday destination in both winter and summer. For bird's-eye views of the whole region, a trip to the top of the Weisshorn cable car is highly recommended. Trains also leave hourly from Chur for the journey along the Albula line. The terrain is rugged and the track has to pass over impressive viaducts and through dramatic river and mountain scenery. The fashionable resort of St. Moritz is located at the edge of one of a chain of lakes which stretch along the upper Engadine Valley towards the Maloja Pass. From St. Moritz, it's possible to travel across the highest open-air crossing of the Alps along the spectacular Bernina line to Tirano in Italy, with its famous pilgrimage church. Alternatively, you could join the world-famous Glacier Express service for a breathtaking 8-hour journey along the backbone of Switzerland to Zermatt, near the French and Italian borders. However, why not take advantage of the new line to make an easy return journey to the beautiful lower Engadine Valley, where there's so much more to explore. You can enjoy the beauties of nature by wandering along one of the special trails in the Swiss National Park on the Swiss-Italian border, or visit some of the many attractions to be found in the scenic Val Mustaia. Alternatively, a journey back into history is made with a visit to Terrasp Castle, once a fearsome fortress, but now an elegant residence. For 21st century luxury, experience the elegance of the bathing complex at Scuol, with its variety of indoor and outdoor pools. Wherever you choose to journey in Canton Graubünden, the Vereina line will help the Rhaetian Railway enhance its enormous popularity with both locals and tourists well into the 21st century.